the roll. Mr. Greeno. Here. Mr. Bates. Here. Ms. Carnavucci.
Here.
Mr. Legata.
Here.
And Mr. Stein. Here. Next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda and addendum items.
Second.
Vote, Mr. Bates.
Yes.
Ms. Carnavucci.
Yes.
Mr. Stein.
Yes.
Mr. Legata.
Yes.
And Mr. Greeno.
Yes.
Next item is to approve or amend the meeting minutes from February 20, 2024.
So moved. Second.
Any questions on those minutes? If not, we'll call the vote. Ms. Carnavucci.
Yes.
Mr. Stein.
Yes.
Mr. Bates.
Yes.
Mr. Greeno.
Yes.
Mr. Legata.
Yes.
Okay. Next up is the presentation of the financial statements for the month of February 2024. Dawn, you want to go over some fund balances for us?
Yes. For the month of February, the general fund had a beginning balance of $3,504,180 and an ending balance of $3,947,906. The land improvement fund had a beginning balance of $1,836,387 and an ending balance of $1,844,958. All funds combined had an ending balance of $5,792,864.
Dawn,
Welcome.
questions? The monthly financial report for the month of February. All right, hearing none. Enter into the record. Next up is the presentation of payment report for the month of February. Any questions on the bills paid? Yeah.
What, it says real estate tax non-exempt. What parcels on it?
Yeah, there's one that comes to mind. I'll let Dawn chime in if she thinks of others, but in purchasing the Hampton Hills property, the Gifford property, it comes on as non-tax exempt, then we file the paperwork.
Oh, okay,
Yes,
so
then
you get it back.
Yeah, we will get
Okay.
it back. Yeah.
So, because all our stuff is our stuff is all tax exempt, right?
Most everything except where we have to pay taxes on some farm leases we have.
Okay.
Yeah, so that we get to see.
Right, if you're making a profit on it.
Right,
Yeah.
right, and we get to see a UV tax rate, so.
So that's something that will be filed, right? File that on anything.
And in fact, we just filed the paperwork a couple of weeks ago to get that property declared taxes.
And they'll give you a refund, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It will go backdate it, yes.
Okay. Okay.
John, quick
Yeah.
question. Under the IT services, there's an expense for Service Express. I wasn't familiar with that. I just wondered, is that for tech fees or?
That's for a hardware warranty service.
Hardware warranty service, okay.
What's that, a yearly service contract?
Yeah.
Okay.
Other questions on the bills paid? Okay. Payment report will be entered into the record. Thank you. Next up, old business, planning update 2024 capital project cost summaries. We're waiting for Saturday's weather. And it's not today, so. Obviously, we have a lot of things going on. Our construction crew has finished up sugaring season. They'll be moving on to some trail improvements at Veterans Legacy Woods. And I will let Matt jump in with some other updates.
The Coldwater Stream Restoration Project that's being funded through the WRSP, we had a meeting with the EPA the other day to review 100% design. So we're just waiting for some feedback from them. And then we'll also have our permits in for the Army Corps. So hopefully once we have final permitting and everything done, that would be getting started probably somewhat later, late July, early August. So that would be the Coldwater Stream habitat. And then a couple of the other projects, the rookery, that project's going to be in front of you here today as far as a potential contract award.
Matt?
When the bridge is going to be bid
I believe that's also, we have the agreement with ODOT, that I believe is April 4th. And that would all be through ODOT then.
Other questions on capital improvement projects? Now, we move on to new business. First item is the Rookery 2024 Asphalt Improvement Contract Award. Commissioners, on February 16, 2024, 7 bids were received for the Rookery 2024 Asphalt Improvement Project. These bids are based on the bid documents dated January 2024. After reviewing the bid of $90,420.00, it was submitted by Cunningham Paving Company on the information provided within the bid documents. They have fulfilled the requirements to be eligible to execute the project in accordance with the contract documents. It is recommended that the Board of Park Commissioners accept the bid of $90,420 and award the contract for the Rookery 2024 asphalt improvements. This recommendation is based on the following items. The submitted bid has been reviewed and is determined to be complete. The submitted bid is within the budget amount of $160,000. Cunningham Paving Company has successfully completed asphalt repairs at Observatory Park in 2023, and Walter C. Best asphalt repairs and resurfacing in 2022. The Ohio Auditor Findings for Recovery Database yielded good results for Cunningham Paving Company. So with that, we'll entertain a motion to approve the bid award to Cunningham in the amount of $90,420.
Lagana?
Thank you, Les.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions on the contract award? None? We will call the vote. Mr. Lagana?
Yes.
Mr. Stein?
Yes.
Mr. Bates?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
And Ms. Carnabucci?
Yes.
Thank you. Next up is Resolution 1, 2024, the Westwoods Bridge Replacement from ODOT. I'm going to read portions of this one because it is simply recognizing our monetary contribution as the LPA to the project. So the final resolution, the following final resolution is enacted by the Board of Park Commissioners of Jogga Park District, referred to the Legislative Authority, Local Public Agency, or LPA. Whereas on November 20th on the 20th day of November 2023, the LPA enacted legislation proposing cooperation with the Director of Transportation for the described project. The project consists of improvements to the Westwoods Road south of Kinsman Road, State Route 87, by replacing the structure, the bridge, over Pebble Brook tributary with a 3-sided culvert, including guardrail lying within the Jogga Park District. And whereas the LPA shall cooperate with the Director of Transportation in the above described project as follows. The LPA agrees to assume and bear 100% of the entire cost of the improvement, less the amount of federal aid funds set aside by the Director of Transportation for the financing of this improvement from the funds allocated by the Federal Highway Administration, U.S. Department of Transportation. The share of the cost of the LPA is now estimated in the amount of $38,787.50. But said estimated amount is to be adjusted in order that the LPA's ultimate share of said improvement should correspond with said percentage of actual costs when said actual costs are determined. Boy, leave it to ODOT. Whereas the Director of Transportation has approved said legislation proposing cooperation under Ohio Revised Code Section 5511.06 has caused to be made plans and specifications and an estimate of costs and expenses for improving the above described highway and has transmitted copies of the same to the legislative authority. And whereas the LPA desires the Director of Transportation to proceed with aforementioned highway project. And it goes on. The share commitment of $38,787.50. We're asked a motion to approve the resolution, and we will enter into a contract with ODOT, and the fiscal officer will certify that we have that $38,787.50 in the budget. So, entertain a motion.
Make a motion?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on the resolution, the contract, or the fiscal officer's certification? We will work towards getting a new bridge to Westwood. All right, we'll call the vote. Approve the motion. Mr. Stein?
Yes.
Ms. Carlucci?
Yes.
Mr. Legata?
Yes.
Mr. Greeno?
Yes.
Mr. Ricketts?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is approved. Next up is Commissioner's time. We're going to start with a presentation by naturalist Carrie Wheaton. Welcome, Carrie. Maple sugar.
I'll try not to stand in front of the TV. I thought maple sugaring programs would be a good thing to highlight for the month of March, because if you live in Geauga County, you know that March means maple. And we just finished up all of our maple sugaring programs, so I wanted to give you an overview of the programming that we do. The naturalist department isn't producing maple syrup, that's our construction crew, but we do the programming in collaboration with the construction department. So why maple sugaring? Why do we do maple sugaring programs here at Geauga Park District? If you look at the map here, you can see, I can't use my laser pointer on the TV, but all of those little blue dots, this is the map of the Ohio Maple Producers Association Maple Madness Tour across the state of Ohio. And we have more sugar houses on the tour in Geauga County than anywhere else in the state. Geauga County is the top maple producer in Ohio. We produce a third of the maple syrup produced in the entire state of Ohio. So this should say Geauga County is the maple syrup capital of Ohio, but that's just a fun picture as to why we do this. So it's part of the history of Geauga County and part of the heritage here as well. And I'm sure everyone here probably knows someone or a sugar house that they drive past, or a neighbor that makes syrup or something in the county. So where do we do these programs? We have a sugar house and a sugar bush at Swine Creek Reservation in Middlefield Township. There's a 30-acre sugar bush there. About 500 red and sugar maple trees are tapped for collecting sap and producing syrup. And this is our sugar house. It was built in 1983 and opened in 1984 for the first season. And we have been doing programs there ever since. So that's 40 years of maple sugaring at Swine Creek Reservation. In 2007, it was named the Mark Sperry Memorial Sugar House for a former park commissioner and longtime maple syrup maker. So that is where our programs happen. This is just where the syrup is produced. But around the sugar house is where all of the programming is. Our big program that we do, it's a public event. It used to be 3 Sundays in March, sometimes 4 Sundays in March. It's Sap's Horizon. Hopefully you've heard of it, everyone. It's a really fun event. We get great turnout. It's been going on since 1984. We had 1 year off during the COVID pandemic, but we still did programming out of the sugar house. We just didn't have our big event, so we still did hikes and things out at Swine Creek. So this year, it's the first year we moved it up into February. The maple sugaring season is shifting as our weather is changing. So people are tapping their trees in December and January now. So traditionally it was mid-February. So we moved the programmings up to try to capture more of the actual maple sugaring season. And we were even a little bit late this year with how early of a spring we had. But this year it was Sunday, February 25th and Sundays, March 3rd and 10th. And this is our event out at Swine Creek Reservation. And I'm just going to go through the event of what we do for the public, and then we have some other programs that we do for maple sugaring as well. So Sap's Horizon, it's at both the sugar house side of the park and the lodge, so that brand new beautiful lodge that was built a few years ago. We've enjoyed using that. But we have about 15 volunteers that help us every Sunday, along with 3 or 4 staff people. Our staff members from the naturals department, and then a couple from the construction department as well. So we take people through the history of maple sugaring, from how Native Americans tapped trees, collected sap, gathered sap, and boiled sap, all the way to modern methods. So we have volunteers who demonstrate how that happened, and then you can see we have the public. They're able to try some of the tools for tapping the trees. This is one of our naturalists at our gathering station, where they talk about how sap is gathered from the trees and then transported to the boiling station. This is Andy, who's showing how our tubing works, one of our naturalists. And then we have some shoulder yokes the kids can try, or adults can try. We even have a little one for little kids. It's really cute. So that's the gathering. And then we have a boiling station set up. We have a hollowed out log that demonstrates just one way that sap may have been boiled down back in history by our indigenous people. That's just one method. They probably used clay pots as well for processing sap. We've got some kettles. We have a flat bottom evaporator at our little sugar shanty. And then people can walk through our modern sugar house as well. So this is the inside of the sugar house with a good boil on the evaporator. If you haven't been there during when the sap is being produced, you walk in and you can smell it right away. This is the best part. Sometimes people walk right past us at the history stations because they see the steam from the sugar house, and they know they'll smell the maple sap boiling and get a taste of maple syrup in the sugar house as well. So here are 2 of our volunteers handing out syrup samples in the sugar house, and then we hand out some little pamphlets to people that come through that, just as a memory, and there's some activities in there and some information about how we make maple syrup at Geauga Park District. And then another highlight of the event are the horses. So this is Howard and his family from Spring Mist Farms in Brunswick Hills. They bring out 2 of their Percheron draft horses every March to pull our sap sled through the sugar bush. And the public can go out with the horses and gather sap from the buckets that we do have in the sugar bush still. So we have about 150 trees tapped on buckets, the rest is tubing, but we have the buckets there because it's fun. It's good for the public to take the buckets off the trees and pour them in the sap sled. So that's still a fun thing that everybody gets to do. And if we don't have sap together, sap to gather, we still go out in the sugar bush and show people the trees and the buckets, and sometimes we find frogs and flowers at the end of the season. But it's a highlight. The horses are friendly. People really like to come see the horses and get that tradition as well. And then the lodge is the other half of the event. We do have people that come just for this part. So we try to encourage everyone to go see the sugar house and how that operates. But there are some people who come just spend time with us at the lodge. So this is that beautiful new lodge out at Soaring Creek. We have live music, a different band every Sunday. They played this year from 12:30 to 3:30 for 3 hours. We have to appreciate the maple lights that were created by them. Those are our maple syrup jugs. I just think that's a fun thing there. But we have live music, and we have some volunteers who make maple treats for everyone. So they do maple stirs, where you cook the syrup to a certain temperature and you stir the syrup and it forms a candy. That's a hit. The maple stirs, we do popcorn that we create if people can pour maple syrup over it, and then we have warm drinks for everyone as well. And our nature store is also in operation there, so when we have maple syrup to sell that has been produced at the park, then it's available for sale during the events as well. And lots of other things. So what was our attendance? It was interesting this year with it being the first year that we had the event in February. Our turnout was lower than expected, but I think people are thinking March for maple. So hopefully next year we kind of capture more people for that first Sunday in February, because it was a great day to be out. We had sap together and everything, but we just didn't get the attendance we were expecting. The second Sunday was awesome. We had over 600 people. It was really busy. It was a beautiful day. And then if you remember the snowstorm on March 10th, that was our last Sunday. So our turnout wasn't as good. We had more people at the lodge than we had at the sugar house. But it really evened out. We had About as many people this year across all 3 Sundays as we have had in the past 5 years or so. So it all kind of evened out across 3 Sundays. So over 1,000 people at the event this year. So it's really fun. And then our volunteers, I said we have about 15 volunteers this Sunday. We really couldn't do the program without them. Sometimes it takes a little encouraging to get people out for 4 hours in March and February, but they come and they help us. We had 39 people across all 3 Sundays help us, about 183 hours that they were there helping us at Saps Horizon. So hopefully they'll come back and help us next March. And then we also do public and requested programs. So that's our big public event that people can come to. We do have public programs. Naturalist Nora does Timber Tots programs for the preschoolers. I was able to take my daughter this year for the first time. It's really fun. They get to see the whole history, go through the sugar house, taste the syrup, which is a hit. But my favorite part is we put these little tiny buckets on the trees where the big buckets normally hang, and the kids get to pull a sap tank through the sugar bush with a little gathering tank on the back. They take the little bucket of sap off the tree, pour it in the tank, and put it back. They always get a kick out of that. So we had 4 of those programs this year, and then we also did, I think it was 3 requested programs for people who call in to our program coordinator, Denise, and schedule programs to bring schools or this year we had a better choice. It's the program across from Headwaters Park. Some folks with some different needs came out and they had a great time. So that was our maple sugaring programs this year. So those numbers for Timber Tots, we had 78 people come across 4 programs. The requested programs, we had 130. And then we did one other program at the Westwoods. It's called Maple 101. We work with the Ohio State University Extension, and Les Over is an educator there, and he teaches people how to do this, make maple syrup on their own properties and their own operations. So we had 17 people at the Westwoods come and learn